Well, hello, my name's Ian Ansegray and welcome to the Confident Live Marketing Show. In this show, we're going to be talking about the tech that you need for your live shows so that you can go live with confidence. So we'll be with you just after this.
Welcome to the Confident Live Marketing Show with Ian Anderson Gray.
Helping you level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of confident live video.
Optimize your mindset and communication and increase your confidence in front of the camera.
Get confident with the tech and gear.
And get confident with the content and marketing.
Together, we can go live!
Well, hello and welcome to episode 120. Let's get the words out. 120. Can't believe I've got to 120. That's probably why. Of the Confident Live Marketing Show. This is a live show, a podcast, and a blog series that helps you level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of confident live video. Now, in today's show, we're talking all about the tech that you need for your live shows so that you can go live with confidence. We're talking about computers, get a bit geeky with, CPUs, GPUs, what on earth are all of those kind of things. But we're going to make it as easy as possible to understand. If you've got any questions or anything like that, then pop it in the comments if you're watching live or get in touch. The podcast is at iag.me/podcast. And the show notes for this episode, when it's out, will be at iag.me/120. I had to think about that. 120. So thank you so much for watching. This live show goes live every Tuesday and Thursday. And do check out the podcast as well. So today's show, as ever, is sponsored by my good free friends at Restream. So here's a little bit more about Restream.
The Confident Live Marketing Podcast is proudly sponsored by Restream. Restream is the complete multi-streaming suite for entrepreneurs. It's the easiest way to broadcast live to over 30 destinations at the same time, including Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitch, and so much more. Restream Studio makes it so simple to stream directly from your browser, bring in guests and add your branding, videos, and graphics, and view and highlight comments from your destinations, all at the click of a button. Take Restream for a test drive and get your first month completely free at iag.me/Restream.
Well, thank you very much. Oh, I've just brought in my guest just temporarily there because I pressed the wrong button. So I'll bring in Doc in a second. But just before I do, that'll teach me. So before I bring in my amazing guest for today, I just want to look at a few comments. It's amazing to see Pascal is in the house. Great to see. I saw you commenting on a lot of the live show that I was watching from Captivate FM, my favorite podcast host. They've got some amazing things coming very soon with the version 2 of Captivate. So that's really exciting. And I can see Challenge ITV is watching. I assume you're still in Vietnam. Great to see you. Doc is Mr. ECAMM. That is very true. I love ECAMM. I use ECAMM for all of my shows in conjunction with Restream. And we're going to be talking maybe a little bit more about that as well. And Pascal says 120. Well done, Ian. Thank you so much. I can't believe we've actually got to that point. So it's time to bring in Doc Rock, who is a thinker, a creator, a maker. I love that. He sees the world as a place full of possibilities. He's on a mission to touch the lives of 1 billion people through collaborating and sharing stories and ideas. He's a YouTuber, trainer, speaker, podcaster, moderator, and designer, and a whole lot more. So welcome to the show, Doc Rock. Let's bring in the crowd there to cheer you in. How's it going?
It's fantastic. Good morning.
Good morning to you. Well, we're just saying before we started that it is very early in the morning. It is, I think, is it just past 6 a.m.?
Yes, exactly.
But it's all relative time, and it is the afternoon. It's after 5 p.m. here in the UK. So welcome to the show. I've been so excited to have you on because I love your content. You're such an amazing communicator, a great thinker, I think, and an amazing creator, and you just give so much to all the communities that you are part of. And recently, you've joined the team at ECAMM. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, it's been a ride. It's been super fun. Pretty much about a year and 2 months ago, I started using ECAMM, and then I dived into the community. Dove in the community because it's just really cool community. Like everybody is very supportive and helpful. And just at that time, they were having this, massive surgence of people joining up. I would just go in and answer questions because I have a large technical background, and I guess from doing that a lot and just, giving as much as possible. One day, Katie called me up and said, "What do you think about being part of the team?" And then I was like, "Do I got to move to Boston?" And she was like, "No." I was like, "Okay." I would have moved to Boston anyway, diehard Red Sox Celtics fan. But she's like, "No, you can stay your butt in Hawaii and do this anyway." And I was like, "Yes, I'm in. Done. Let's go. Let's have fun." And it is absolutely blast. Like, I love our team. I love our community. And I really basically get to do what I was already doing, but like on an official basis, and just, yeah, it's amazing.
That's awesome. Well, I'm a massive fan of ECAMM. I've used it pretty much since it came out. Well, it wasn't quite when it came out because I was actually, I'm sorry to admit this, but I was a PC user at the time. I still, unlike you, I do really like PCs, but I think my workflow's completely changed. And since meeting the guys at Social Media Marketing World, I then got a Mac, and it's been amazing. And just the way the product itself has developed. But the amazing thing about ECAMM is the community, wouldn't you say? I mean, well, it's one of the amazing things.
100%.
The community is just
100%.
amazing.
That is it, 100%. And I want to put in a fast disclaimer. 2 reasons why I absolutely despise using PCs. Number one, I'm a retired Apple employee, so I became a Mac user like the best way. But no, I still use one every day. It's just your thinking pattern goes a certain way. Macs think the way I think. PC think the way that who knows thinks. Because, like, again, I would take it all the way back to the days of I'm going to shut down my computer by pressing the start button.
Oh, that says it all. But I just want to say, look, I do like PCs, and if you're listening or watching and you are a PC lover, you are welcome too. But obviously, okay. I use Macs. Doc uses Macs as well. So, and I can see here, Challenge ITV saying Doc is on duty 24/7 for live streaming. That is what we call commitment, and I would agree with that. So, I'd love to know a little bit more about your background, and tell us a bit more about your name as well, because that's not your full name on Facebook. So tell us a bit more about your history. You say you're a retired, you were in the military. You got quite a tech background as well. So can you give us a background on how you got to where you are today?
Yeah. So in the military, I was a paramedic. So all of us are called Doc, right? Because while you're in pain, you don't want to try to remember someone's last name. In the military, you call everybody by their last name and their rank. And so, yeah, when you're hurting, you don't have to call us by our rank. All you got to do is say Doc. And like I said, one of the 6 of us will come pat you up or, box you up, one of the 2. So the Doc part stuck. But when I was working in the hospital, one of the nurses, she was an elderly lady, civilian, but she worked in the military hospital. And she was like, "Oh, what are you going to do after work?" I'm like, "Oh, I'm a DJ too. So I have to work in a nightclub at night. And then, I would reset every day, come back to the hospital, do my thing." And she goes, "Oh, I see. You're Dr. Rock and Roll." Stuck. Absolutely stuck. I was like, "Lady, I kind of play house and hip hop, but I'll take it." And then it was much better than my original name, DJ Yogi, which was smarter than the average bear. So, that's how it literally came about. Also in the military, if you're one of those people that are very, deliberate and by the book, you're often called Sergeant Rock because you just hardcore. This must be 6 inches to the left and turn this way. Everything has to be at 35 degrees. You're kind of over the top, particulate. They're also called Rock. So it was the perfect name. My squad just kept it. So I kept it. That's where it comes from.
Love it. That's awesome. So you're based in Honolulu in Hawaii. Yes. Have you always lived there? And how did you get into, just really interested in your tech background, because you just know everything. You are a fountain of all knowledge. I remember this show you were doing, and you were going into ridiculous detail about USB and Thunderbolt, and I can't even remember. And it shouldn't sound interesting. It really shouldn't. But you made it so interesting and fascinating, and I was totally hooked. So tell us about that.
Okay, so I got into the tech space, I guess, a long time ago, just as a kid. I got one of these Radio Shack kits that was designed to help you get into building electronic circuits and stuff like that. I dismantled our family TV at 5 years old and put it back together and came up with a better picture. And my grand was all about, hey, all right, let's get this guy a socket set, some wrenches, screws, soldering iron. So like my grandpa and my pops kind of, forwarded that, get into the technical side. And then at my age back in the day, there was two choices of school. There's regular school and there's what's called a polytechnic, right? Because everyone thought you were going to build a factory worker. Somewhere in about 6th grade, I discovered a computer lab with one of these gigantic 2-color computers, and I was hooked. I was absolutely hooked. So I've been in computer for a long while, worked at Apple for a little bit. And then, my love for music and music production is kind of what like literally anchored me into the space, trying to build a rap career. And it didn't work, but that got me really into the tech side of it because I was always trying to fix our broken computers in the studio. And I guess that's what really just made it stick. Did, graphic design and publishing for a long time. And so, I'm just a hardcore person. And then as far as video stuff comes from, it's just a spin off of music because MTV came about. We all wanted to make music videos. So I got into learning how to shoot videos and take pictures and stuff because we couldn't afford to hire a publicist. So we did all of our own marketing and promotion as a small band. And believe it or not, I've opened up for almost every major hip hop artist from the 80s to 2000s.
Wow, that's awesome. So we've got a lot in common there, with the music, and I just meet so many people in this industry, whether it's marketing or creatives, who have this musical background. Have you got any? What I want to know is, are there any like recordings of you rapping? Because we need to find those somewhere.
Yeah, they will never surface, but they do exist. As a matter of fact, one of my old bandmates hit me up on Sunday. They were in the garage working on some stuff. And then he goes, hey, have you heard this song before? And I was like, dude, why are you bothering me? I'm on the way to Costco. And then he plays it, and it's our track from when we're little kids. And I can just hear my squeaky voice yelling into the mic. And I'm just like, oh, never let anyone hear this, okay? We thought we were cool. But
yeah. Well, I think we were born at the right time because I fear for kids today because like all our time as teenagers and early 20s were safe. Nowadays it's all on the internet, and so if you were your rapping would be public domain, I think.
What's worse than that? If anybody could see my Van Halen cover band videos, like they were horrible. They were super horrible, and it wasn't even VHS back then. We filmed on a cartridge that stuck into this Sears projector. It was like a little small cartridge and it fit in the Sears projector. You just pop it in and there's us over there.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
That's
photograph. Yeah, hello.
There we go. We had a Betamax video recorder, and my granddad had. There was a third format. It was like Video 2000s. So like we're the kind of the champions of all the all the kind of technology that has died like the dodo. Challenge ITV is asking: are you still producing music these days? Are you still involved with that?
No, I kind of wish I stuck with it, but I help out a lot of my friends that do produce. I help out a lot of my friends with their studios and stuff. I guess that's the reason why I know so much about mics and, all of these things like that. But yeah, music is one of those things that as much as I love listening to it, the creative side really takes a toll on you, right? You have to just have the perfect set of tools to do that. And not my speed, man. It drove me nuts. I'm too much of a perfectionist, and you can't be that way. So no.
Well, I think I've been on this journey. I definitely used to be a perfectionist. I like to call myself a recovering perfectionist now, and so I try and use my music in a fun and creative way, and just have a bit of but it's hard. It is hard. It really is. We've also got another thing in common in that, well, kind of. I'm not really into sport. I hate to admit. I feel I should be. I feel it's one of these flaws of my character. But
don't do it.
But so I live very close to Manchester, and you're quite into a sport team from Manchester, aren't you?
Oh yes, absolutely love Manchester United. Been a diehard fan since I'm gonna say mid-90s. in the beginning of the Fergie years where they thought about firing him because like he sucks. And then you almost got that wrong there, buddy. So yeah, die-hard fan.
Oh, well, there we go. Well, there's all my Manchester City listeners and viewers gone, but never mind. I love this
one,
from Rob.
They won the championship this year, so they actually have the leg up. So they're good.
They're good. Rob says the footage from my Bangles cover band is scary.
Oh my God.
Oh,
dude, my ex-girlfriend looked exactly like Belinda Carlisle. It was part of the joke.
That's so funny. That's so funny. Well, we need to get into the main content. Keep the comments coming if you're watching live. But we need to get. I want to ask you my first question, which is, what do we need to actually go live? If you like literally had no gear, what would be the first 3 or 4 things that you would invest in to go live? And we're not looking like really ultra basic stuff. I mean, I suppose you could say go live with your phone or just get a very basic computer, microphone and webcam. If you've got a bit more budget, what would you start with?
This is going to sound so crazy. The first place you need to start with is that piece of equipment between your left ear and your right ear. The majority of the failure comes from just thinking about it wrong. But once you get past that and you're ready and you're ready to put into some work, I think people like you and I who've been doing this for a while, we tend to make it look easy. And this is so hard to explain. It is easy, but then it's not. It's like a basic buttercream. If you guys watch the Great Baking Show, buttercream is probably one of the easiest things to make, but it's also really hard because if you screw it up, it's just horrible, right? So I think that you have to be ready to do some work, right? And now, if I was going to start right now, I would tell everybody, don't spend any money on anything other than get your M1 first. That would be the first piece of equipment because it's actually affordable. It's actually really small, but it's extremely powerful. And you can run your whole studio out of that. That way you'd have a dedicated machine. So you're not fighting and having problems where your computer is, I got one computer for my 87 things that I do and you're working it. So a single dedicated M1 at basically 700 quid can outdo this $4,000 iMac trying to do 17 things.
Yeah, that is.
It's crazy, but it's true.
I would agree with you. I've got this I'm not going to talk about my Mac woes because this is actually my second. Apple replaced my 2016 model with a 2018 model. We won't talk about that, but it's a 2018 MacBook Pro. It's pretty high end, but it's an Intel based one. And as I was saying before the show to you, it is really slowing down at the moment, and the fan kicks in, and I'm really happy with it. It works really, really well. And Apple knows this. I do have my eyes set on one of the new MacBook Pros with the M1 or the M1X or whatever it's going to be called when they announce it, which might be next week. I don't know. So
I have a question though. Now I'm going to interview you. Why do you need a notebook? Everyone messes this up. Streaming, strangely enough, is probably the hardest thing you will ever do with your computer besides calculate spaceship trajectories so that they can re-enter. Other than that, the second hardest thing you'll ever do with the computer is probably streaming. Since none of us know how to fly satellites, this is the hardest thing you're ever going to do in your computer. Harder than video editing, harder than photo editing. You're photo editing 30 frames per second, 25 for you pal people, doesn't matter anymore. But you're editing basically 30 frames per second for an hour and a half. And why do my fans come on every time I live stream? I don't know, buddy. Think about it. Let me throw let me throw your engine in your family saloon. Let me throw the engine in Redline for an hour and a half. What do you think's going to happen to your saloon?
It's not going to be happy, is it?
Thank you. So of course your MacBook Pro fans come on. They're supposed to. That's saving your computer from catching your desk on fire like Adele. I didn't say that. It slipped out. You know what I'm saying? But that's why. That's exactly why. So seriously, why do you need a notebook?
You're going to be a hard guest, aren't you? But no, thank you for the question, because I think it's a really good question. And I think the reason I do is because I need I need the flexibility of working wherever I want to work. So I like to be stuck here in my office. Sometimes I'll go downstairs. So I need the flexibility. And at the time I had the choice. Could I get a desktop computer and a laptop? No, I couldn't. So I had to spend the money on something. And so I went for as high-end MacBook Pro as I possibly could at the time. And I'm thinking about getting a new computer, at some point in the next year. And the question is in my head, what I would always recommend, like what you're saying, is I would always recommend that people get a desktop because they're just more powerful and there's more space for example, heat distribution. And yeah, exactly. So I would always recommend that. But when it comes to me, I do need that flexibility and that portability. I'm always aware.
Keep that notebook you have. Let that be your work computer, and get the baseline M1 as your dedicated streaming computer. Install ECAMM on it and Chrome, and no matter what your temptations, don't install anything else. Okay, I'll give you 3 things you need: Chrome, ECAMM, NDI tools. After that, stop. Don't put anything else. And it's funny because we'll spend $700 on a lens for our stream. I mean, your mic and your interface is the entire cost of the new computer right now. And so we'll drop $500 on the mic because we need to, have that nice, sexy Ian Anderson, Gray Mike Russell voice. So yeah, so keep your notebook and let your notebook be your workforce. But I would say get an M1, especially because the minis that are out right now come October when they make the Pro version of the mini. They'll be cheap because everybody like me will be dumping ours to get the Pro version.
That's really interesting. Well, we do have a Mac Mini downstairs that the kids are using, and I was really impressed with the affordability of them because Macs are not known for their affordability. But yeah, it's like we got it for about £700, which is probably about $700 because they keep them the same. And yeah, I've been really, really impressed with it. So I think that's a good tip. Although, in my head, I feel I need to always go for the high end stuff. But I've been so impressed with the Mac Mini, with the M1. It's just.
So right now it is. That's the crazy part. Right now it is the high end. That's the crazy part. So I'm super excited about this because 2 things you stated just now, which are whole cloth true, right? We're normally not known for our affordability because they refuse not to take shortcuts in design, not to take shortcuts in quality, because the known quantity is we heavily run the creative and production industry. So if those things have problems, those people will be more heated and they actually can make the noise to embarrass you badly. So because of that creative space, they've always had this line of, I'm going to create a certain level of distinction, right? It's the difference between an Aston and a Vauxhall, right? So Apple is always, I'm going to be Aston, and either you buy it or you don't. We really don't care. And luckily people have bought it, right? So because they make their own chip now, they have control. See, when Intel was getting to the point where it's pushed the limits of its current design, I won't get into the nerdy side of their design. That design is not heat efficient. That design is not power efficient. And what everybody wants right now is a silent computer that can run at least 10 hours, right, on a single battery charge. So Apple tried and tried and tried. They pushed Intel. The Intel started holding stuff out for, we have to be fair to these other manufacturers. And it's like, we probably outpay what all the other guys pay for chips. So why are you guys messing us around? So there's a fight. Apple says, screw it. They decide to build their own chips. And now Intel's going, damn, we should have just gave them what they wanted, because now that there's no licensing fees, now there's no profit margins given to someone else, Apple can basically sell the chip at cost, knowing that they're going to make up for it in dope services.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying? So your iCloud, your Apple Music, your Apple Fitness, all of the things that we pay $5 here for, $9 here for, whatever, that recoups all the costs of research and development and things like that. Now, the other thing, here's something that's blowing people's mind, and I don't think a lot of regular people have caught on to this. So everything that's out right now, with the exception of that notebook, the iMac, the iPad, the Mini, and the small notebooks all have one processor, the M1. Every single device. Right? So once the notebook comes out, and I'm going to say, knock on wood, next week, Tuesday, every device will have an Apple chip in it. So you don't have to build all these various things. They can build it into one. So don't be surprised if maybe not this year, next year, there's even an M1 iPhone, because it's so much cheaper when you have to develop a single product that is fast. Like, that is ridiculous. My new iPad is so fast, it melts my face. I'm like, I can't believe this thing. You know, I'm running 4 streams of 4K in an iPad in LumaFusion. I'm like, this is ridiculous, bro. You know, it's coming from building server PCs to edit, mind blowing.
That is amazing. So I think that's the first thing we'd say. Probably, I think we agree on get an M1 Mac, and yeah, at the moment that means either, you know, you can get Macbook Pro, there's the MacBook Air, and there's the Mac Mini. By the way, Doc, your video has frozen. We can see you with your hands on your head.
Because I like that picture though.
It is very good.
It's so strange because I can see myself really well, and I look normal to
well,
me.
do you want to maybe like pop out and then come back in again, see if that fixes it? Solves all known problems apparently, and then we can.
Yes, okay, let's try that.
Let's wait for Doc to do that, and then hopefully he'll come back and it will work. We've got some questions that I can see, which is great. So I'm gonna get Doc to answer Challenge ITV's question. Let's just bring in, let's assign, are you back? Let's have a look. Ooh, it's not working.
I am back. No, you have the wrong guess.
No, we can't see you.
What is that?
Oh,
here, let me do something. I got an idea.
Okay. I'll let you do that in the background while.
Boom. Okay. How about now?
There we go. Okay. It's working now.
Yeah.
You're
like, how about no?
We got a question from Challenge ITV, which is kind of different to what we've been talking about, but that's great. So just to recap, in terms of your computer, we're not saying that other types of computers like PCs and stuff are, well, maybe Doc would just say don't go for that, but
no, they're perfectly fine.
They're perfectly fine.
Just
but like, for bang for your buck, the new M1 Macs are amazing and they work so well for live streaming. I am really tempted actually of getting a Mac Mini just for my live streaming. I think that's great advice, and you can get them relatively inexpensively. So definitely do that. So Challenge ITV is asking this question: facing a mic delay with ECAMM, if I adjust the delay in preferences, my sound goes through a mixer, then Focusrite sound interface. Any idea for a fix? So this is sometimes there can be a delay between your audio, so your microphone, and your video. Sometimes your video can take a little bit longer to get processed onto your computer than your audio. And in ECAMM, there's a great feature in preferences that allows you to delay your microphone by a couple of frames or more. But yeah, Challenge ITV is having a few problems. So any ideas on what he could do there?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so every device you add is going to add a little bit of latency to it because it has to round trip to that device. We're not analog anymore, right? We're digital, but our face is analog and these are analog. So from here down to XLR cable is analog. Your first device, your first mixer is going to take that signal, do a little signal processing on it, your EQ and all of that. And it's going to add a slight little bit of change just due to the fact that it's processing sound. And then you're taking that sound and you're feeding it to a Focusrite, and the Focusrite has legendary DSPs, digital signal processors. So it's going to do some adjustments to the thing, and it's going to come out of that, and then you're going to bring it into ECAMM, and then from the USB cable into ECAMM, like, there's still some digital signal processing going on. Now, we personally don't touch the signal once it comes in, especially if you have music mode checked on, but you just sent it down a long trip. Tell your sister a secret and tell your sister to tell that secret back to your mom. It's already different, right? Like, that's just how the signal works. So the only thing that you could probably do is take it out of the Focusrite directly into the camera and just capture what the camera sees. That will help. But there will with the amount of trips that you're taking, there is no way out of that, even if I can buy you $1 million each device, $1 million mic, $1 million first interface, $1 million second interface, $1 million computers, it would still be off because physics. So yeah, you just have to edit that way, or plan for the delay in the way you talk or play, which is what we did in television for years. Even to this day, I tell you, when Graham Lasso goes, hey, can I call down to the field at Arlo White? I know you're talking to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Let me hear what coach has to say. 2, 3, 4. Hey, Graham. It happens. Just watch sports every day. But people will get on their live stream and goes, why is there a delay? I'm like, I don't know. I think BT has all the money in the world and they can't get it to be instant, so neither can you.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you for that. Yeah, it's a common issue. Well, I hope you managed to sort that out. And if you've got if you want any extra help, just let us know. I'm happy to help.
Yeah, and by all means, send us a support ticket just in case there is something that we're hicking up. Yeah. But it's what you're explaining seems extremely normal. But if you think it's more abnormal because sometimes the explanation doesn't come through in typing, by all, send us a support ticket and we'll run through your system and make sure that everything is legit.
That's great, and the community is so amazing from this point of view. And the support is great too. Pascal is asking a question: am I right in thinking that ECAMM only streams to one destination? Would linking to Restream free account help with this? I think I'm right in saying that at the moment it's just one destination, but it works really well with Restream. I'm using Restream at the moment. I love the way that you can get all the comments, so I can see everyone from like Facebook. I know you're watching on Facebook, Pascal. We've got people watching on YouTube and LinkedIn, and I can see all the comments and bring it all in. So it works perfectly, and it would work with the free account. Any other thoughts on that?
That is the best way to do it. Like I do it that way as well. I use ECAMM as my switcher, my studio, my production backend, and then let Restream send it out to other places. Not even for the multiple destinations either. For me, I can send a 4K signal to Restream so that way I can record in 4K and get a backup recording on Restream, right? So I end up with 3 recordings, the camera, the computer, and Restream. But it will take it and squeeze it to whatever size necessary for, say, Facebook or YouTube or the aforementioned Periscope or Twitch or whatever. So that way I can maintain the quality that I want so that I can repurpose, listen to Ian, and then let Restream squeeze it appropriately. What that does is that means that my computer doesn't have to do all of that squeezing, and it would beat up my computer trying to send to multiple destinations just because you'd have to make a stream for each one. So it's good for bandwidth mitigation as well as multi-streaming.
I think that's a really good point because ECAMM Live is a dedicated app that runs on your computer, whereas tools like Restream Studio, that works within the browser. So they can do all the multi-stream, multicasting in the background. And so actually using ECAMM with Restream, you get the best of both worlds. So there's tools like there's Wirecast, there's vMix. I've used Wirecast before, and it's fine, but you need
I was sponsored by Wirecast for 10 years, and I will say all the bad stuff about it.
Okay, yeah, but you need a really powerful computer for that, and it's not a good fit. So like my Wirecast days I have to say are over. I mean, ECAMM and Restream is just a marriage made in heaven as far as I'm concerned. So we've talked about, in terms of computer specs, we've talked a lot about the CPU. I think we agreed on the M1 is kind of the answer to all our problems. But like, how much, so this is probably a question you get asked a lot, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How much RAM do we need? So how much memory? Because like, do you go for 8? I always think 8's not enough. I need to go for 16 or possibly 32. Some of the Macs next week that might be announced may have 64. Is that complete overkill? So when it comes to memory, and then the follow-on question from that is, do we need to think about the GPU? So the CPU is the processor. The memory is the memory, the RAM's the memory, the graphics processing unit. This is the graphics card. And do we need to like have one that has quite a beefy one on there? Do we need one at all? Like, this is one that I've always got confused about because if we use tools like ECAMM, tools like ECAMM use just the processor, the CPU, or do they use a graphics processor? And are we good to go with something like that? So lots of questions that I've just thrown at you. I'm just going to let you get on with it.
I got it. So we don't do direct speaking discreetly to GPUs, so it doesn't matter. We don't have to, because there's certain stuff that we're using does a lot of conversation directly within the CPU. Also, all of what this is going to be so difficult for people. It was difficult for me, and I am a professional card carrying nerd. Back in October, when I bought the first M1, like the day it came out, I had this crazy conversation. I'm like, there's no way that this thing with 8 gigs of RAM in it is going to be able to do what this iMac with 64 gigs of RAM can do. Just impossible. There's physics, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, wrong. Unified memory doesn't work the way x86 memory does, right? All computers that we know up until now use like x86 memory paging, which for you PC people, you understand. Us Mac people think we're Mac, think we're not PC, but we were still doing memory the PC way because it was an Intel processor, right? So the conversations between the PC and the chip, there's a distance, there's a little latency. Going back to the previous comment, it doesn't work like that anymore. It's completely different. And this 8 feels like the equivalent of 32. Now, my current Mini now has 16 because I sold the 8 and got a 16 for no other reason that when it's time to resell it, it's easier to resell. And $200 wasn't going to starve me. So I just overbought because I always over-engineer, right? That's what you do. Yeah. You always over-engineer if possible. Considering the difference in the machines is $200, if it's going to make you or break you, you can get completely away with 8 gigs because it doesn't perform the way this does. It performs more like a cell phone or a tablet or your Xbox or your PlayStation. All have small memory, small quote-unquote graphics cards, but they play just incredible imagery at high frame rates, and you never even think about it. But then we get into the PC space, we get suckered by NVIDIA and ATI, I think I said that right. We get suckered by these guys into buying all of these, $800 graphics cards. You don't have to. Again, you're not folding proteins and you're not playing video games. You probably don't need an intense GPU. It's just how it works. But yeah.
So that's good. So we could get away with 8. So why did you, I know you said you went for 16 because of the resale value, but are there situations where 16 would be better than 8 for the kind of stuff?
Of course. I mean, it's memory. So of course, if you can afford the extra $200, just get it. Just get it because it is. But the primary differentiator is, whenever you're paging memory back and forth, right? You're sending information between multiple programs and stuff like that. You would just run into a space thing. And what the computers have done for years is dump some of that to the hard drive and then bring it back. We're running off of SSDs, and SSDs are already smaller and they're already expensive. So the idea of having it just constantly swapping because you're killing it, it just makes you want to go ahead and get 16, but you don't have to. Like, your computer won't be slower because of it. There's not a big speed or performance difference. It's probably more a longevity difference, right? It's like having a small lorry to go carry around a bunch of 2x4s or having them hang out the back of your family wagon. Like, they both can carry 2x4s, but you'll take way more trips to the wood store in the family wagon, where if you had a tiny lorry, you could fill that sucker up with a whole house full of wood in one trip. That's primary difference.
That's cool. So 8 is fine, 16 is probably optimal, 32 is probably complete overkill for
it's kind of like how Ian is cool, but I'm way cooler, so I'm 16.
Yeah. Well, I'm not going to say anything to that. So that is awesome. That's really helpful. And the GPU, just to go over the GPU thing, for ECAMM doesn't really use the GPU side of things. Am I right? So we don't need to. I think
streaming in general doesn't really use the GPU the way people think it does, because it is so graphic intensive, but it's a different type of graphic intensive, right? So a lot of our encoding and all of these things that all the software is used, that encoding and stuff is built into the processors, right? Yeah. Our VP9 encoding, our VP8 encoding, our H.265. Let me stop nerding out. Anyway, the majority of the encoding that you need for streaming is actually handled by the processors, both ML and M1, Intel and M1. So yeah, you adding, people I got a Mini and I stuck this GPU on the side and my computer's way better. Probably not for streaming. maybe for video editing or photo processing, that might make a difference.
Okay.
But
So like
for
if
what
you
we're
are
doing-
wanting to do a lot of video editing, then GPU is obviously good. And like just before we move on to the next topic, like if we have the M1 chip so if we had a choice of an iMac, a MacBook Pro, a MacBook Air, a Mac Mini, and maybe, I don't know, a Mac Pro, we can always bung that in as well. And they all have M1s, and we want like the best experience when it comes to live streaming. Does it matter what the form factor is? I mean, I think you've mentioned that you would avoid a laptop side of things, but let us know.
So the performance is identical, right? But the primary difference would be airflow. So the worst of that situation is air, zero fan. It only depends on radiant heat dispersion. So the air actually craps out in about 10 minutes once you throw heavy work at it, because it gets hot and the protection thermals kick in. So it slows down the processor in order to keep it running. If you're going to send emails and sell like millions of dollars of pharmaceuticals and do things like that, the air is a beast. But when you want to do graphics, live streaming, video editing, heavy music recording, all of the above, it will get hot and it has to slow down to protect itself. So I would just take the air out of the picture, period. I actually think the air is going to disappear in August, but that's a different conversation. The MacBook Pro, again, same thing, dope computer, perfectly good. Airflow is much better. It performs extremely well. But if you don't need a notebook, like really, really don't, a lot of people buy notebooks, leave them plugged in on the desk for the majority of their life. If you're going to do that, you can save yourself 600 quid and get a small mini, because it's the exact same computer. The processor is identical. The form factor is different, right? And then the advantage of the mini and the iMac is airflow. So right now the iMac would be the best because it has the best airflow. And then when and if in the end of next year we get the Mac Pro, it will be a multi-processor, dope airflow, all of the above, probably sitting around $8,000.
Yeah, you have to remortgage your house and I don't know, and all that kind of stuff to buy one of those. That's really helpful. So let's talk about connectors and all this kind of stuff, because one of the concerns that people talk about with the new Mac Mini is the number of ports that it has, and people get really confused. So if you can like help us here, because there's USB, there's USB-C, there's USB 3.1, there's Thunderbolt 1, 2, 3, I don't know. And with the new M1, we can only fit a certain number of, for example, displays on it and all this kind of stuff. Can you like help us navigate this really complicated world of connectors when it comes to computers, and particularly the M1 Max?
Okay, so the first thing you need to know is USB-C is a form factor. That's all it is. It is the shape of the hole. Full stop in the conversation. What goes on inside that USB-C are varying protocols. So one of those protocols is the universal serial bus, which can move data back and forth. One of those protocols is PD, power delivery. I'm just going to send you electricity so you can power your computer. One of those protocols will be 5.1 audio, 7.1 audio, Dolby Atmos, HDMI, Y plus B plus R, CMYK, video signal, H.265, H.264, Blu-ray, Thunderbolt. Like I can stack all of these types of communications into that single wire. Think of it like your Ethernet cable. Your Ethernet cable is just sending a thing, but over that Ethernet cable, I can send audio, I can send video, I can send characters, I can send, pictures, I can send all myriad things. So literally USB-C is a pipe. The current pipe, USB 4/Thunderbolt 3, is just top of the food chain pipe. Think of it as the M5 freeway, right? That's all it is. It's just a freeway. Now, what goes inside there, your Thunderbolt is going to give you the fastest possible. Like that's Autobahn level speeds at 40 gigabytes per second. The USB-C Type-C 3.1 Gen 2 can only send 10 gigabytes per second. And then if you dumb it down to the older previous versions, it can only send 5 gigabytes per second. So where people get stuck is they see the Mac and it only has 2 holes in the back and they go, I can only plug in 2 things. No, because unlike your computer, which might have 4 holes, 2 of those holes are still only Thunderbolt, and the other ones or the other 5 are USB-C. So they're technically slow and they don't really do anything. And USB-C is easily replicatable. So you can replicate it right outside a device with a hub, right? So the cool thing that Thunderbolt 4 brought to the party, it allowed PC people to play on parity with Thunderbolt, what as Mac people been doing since 91. Not that far back, that was a joke. But now you can do Thunderbolt, right? And the other thing it brought to the table is daisy chaining. So you can take something like this, which is a Thunderbolt Hub, and back in the day, a dock was replicating ports. You plug in a single cable, it would convert it to 8 other different shape holes that you can plug stuff into. A hub takes the single version and replicates it to be basically twins of itself, or in this case, triplets of itself, which is why in the past you bought a dock, it only ever had one more Thunderbolt port. And you were like, this is silly. I got to use one to plug it in. And it just moved that to the outside to give me another out of a single extension cord with no other plugs in it. And everybody couldn't understand why. It's the way the chip worked. But with the new technology in Thunderbolt 4, I can plug in 1 and turn that into 3, right? So all you need to do, get yourself one of these. These are relatively inexpensive. And you plug in the master in the front. It gives you 3 of these in the back, which are other Thunderbolt ports. From here, you plug in all your Thunderbolt devices, take the other port and plug in the standard USB dock and do all of the conversions you made. So if you want to buy a 16-in-1, 17-in-1, 21-in-1, knock yourself out. Plug it in over there, stick in all of the weird stuff like your USB coffee cup, and it won't affect your performance. You see what I mean? Because they're 2 separate controllers. Yeah. So that's kind of the key. The monitor thing has to do with the way the chip is set up right now. The current version of the chip can only throw another monitor. And I don't know why people can't get their head around this. They think Apple's just being a-holes, but no. Driving a 4K display is work, people. Like, it is absolute work. Like, maybe because we started building computers prior to 1080, when we had 640, or we had the, 732, we had these, big CRT displays. Maybe we forgot how many pixels we're moving right now. But like this camera, my Sony a6400 right now is sending you 24 million pixels at 24 frames a second. Just get your calculator out and just start typing those numbers in and multiplying them just so you can see how much data it's moving. And then you won't think, oh, maybe my computer company's pissing me off because they won't let me run 5 4K displays. That's 2 billion pixels, man. Yeah. Come on.
That makes sense. So for podcast listeners who couldn't see that doc you were showing, tell us a little bit more about that. No, that's okay. And like, I know you've also recommended in the past there's the CallDigit TS3 as well, but that is Thunderbolt 3. So maybe tell us a bit more. Can we still use that, or is there an updated version 100%. Of that?
So Thunderbolt, what we say right now, Thunderbolt 4 is Thunderbolt 3 plus USB 4. There's not really a real Thunderbolt 4 word yet. Kind of like 5G is really 4G LTE advanced. We're in a weird nomenclature section right now. They had to give it a number for iteration, but the technology is basically the same. The only upgrades have been allow more parity with PC people, so we don't have to have this fight between what devices are for what. And we stack the USB 4 spec, which is the PC side. Right. Mm-hmm. We've already had that. Everything that they just gained, we've had since 2015. Right. So that's basically, we're at parity. So ignore the Thunderbolt 4, Thunderbolt 3 part. That's a little confusing. But the primary thing that it brought to the table, every modern Thunderbolt device now and going forward has the ability to daisy chain Thunderbolt devices much better than before, right? So that's the primary difference. And what I was holding up is a Thunderbolt Hub. Again, the difference between a hub and something like the CallDigit T3 Plus, which is a Thunderbolt dock. The dock will take a single Thunderbolt connector and convert that into SD card, USB, USB-C, Ethernet, Toslink, aka digital audio, and those things. Whereas a Thunderbolt hub will take a single Thunderbolt port and turn it into 3 Thunderbolt ports. So my current combination on the Mini is a CalDigit T3 Plus a CalDigit Element hub, which is a Thunderbolt hub with 3 Thunderbolt ports plus 3 USB flat Type A 3.1 Gen 2. Wow.
It's complicated stuff. It's like these names, like they don't make it easy, do they?
Yeah, but I have a friend named Aloysius P. McGinnis, but he's just Al. So you can get stuck in the long names, or you can just understand that Al's a great guy and he's a good center half. And if I send him the ball, it will go in the net. That's all that matters.
Yeah. No, that's good. So like hub dock, I think I get that now. That makes a lot of sense. Like, and if for most of us, we're going to be plugging in something like a USB mic or the Rodecaster Pro into it. We'll plug in a camera, maybe via like what's it called again? The Elgato Cam Link 4K or whatever. Yeah. And maybe some Stream Decks and all that kind of stuff. Not that they need like lots of juice, those kind of things. So like getting the hub for that will make a lot of sense. For those of us who, like, my dream is to have like 3 monitors. I probably don't need 3 monitors, but for that, we're going to have to wait. We can't with the M1 chips at the moment. We can't do that.
You can. You can buy a Display Link adapter. The Display Link adapter handles the replication of the port. So it basically has an HDMI signal emulator inside. So you plug it into a single spot in your computer. Right now, they normally will push 1 device each Display Link. So far, the one guy that I've seen push it the hardest put 6 Display Links on a single Mac Mini. So he has 6 monitors on the Mac Mini.
Oh, wow. Well, there you go. Like, you've heard that. I mean, I've always heard that the maximum is 2.
Everyone says that because they read a headline from somebody who's trying to get the click. No, I say this in full sincerity. There are tech people out there who are really more about their clicks and their story block sponsorship than they are about telling you the full answer. So it is really fun the day that Apple puts out a product to come in and go, don't buy this, your house is going to blow up. Don't buy this, the phone will fold in half. Don't buy this because, Apple did something, because Apple's top of the food chain. Just like right now, we're going to take pot shots for the next year at Man City because they're top of the food chain. So we're just say dumb stuff about them. Oh, their striker was out drinking. Yeah, man, just a hard game. Of course you drink. You just had a beer while you complained on the internet that he was out drinking. You know what I'm saying? So there's people that will take that and run with it. You're in the UK, you understand tabloids. But they know the answer. They fully know the answer. They know that you can add something that only costs like $40, $50 to make it fixed or make it do what you want it to do. But it's better to tell you the heinous stuff, let that run for like a month while everybody's fighting, and then come back, superhero Kate, I know how to fix it. Look, all you need to do is get this device. Oh, by the way, we're sponsored by the device maker. You plug it in, and it will allow you to add 2 more monitors. Man, this is the greatest thing ever. And it'll be the greatest thing ever until the next piece of tech come out, and then they'll rip that up. So, like right now, they've already stopped talking about the ability to only run 1 monitor so that they can talk about the iMac and how it's a 1/4 pound heavier. The iPad, or how the iMac colors are only dark on the back, not on the front, because that's what computers are about, how dark it is on the back. So you have to, when you hear these things from people, you have to understand. And sometimes, like, I came here for an answer because I have a problem to solve, but what is this person's motivation? Right? So I would immediately then in turn go look for smaller channels that might be having a similar conversation and see if you can find a different opinion. Just like if the doctor told you your toe has to come off, you might check a different doctor. Go check a different tech reviewer, because there are a handful of them out there that will just lose their minds and say all kind of crazy stuff. If I had to give you just listen to one person, it would probably listen to more like Marquez or Renee, because they're normally going to be pretty much on point. But like Linus, I love the guy and I hate the guy at the same time. I'm like, Linus, you know better. You know what you just did. But because he rides the Mac PC fence, like he likes to put the two sides against each other, and he kind of over sensationalizes sometimes, which he doesn't have to do. He's too smart for that. I wish he wouldn't.
Makes sense. Well, thank you for that. So that is great. So I think we know like what we need. I think you need to pay a bit more money to get like a decent dock and a decent hub. As I know you've mentioned before, we are almost out of time, and this wasn't going to be. We're not going to go into much detail on this because this episode's been more about the main hardware, the computer, the all that kind of stuff. But you have like an amazing camera. It looks great. I love your background. We've talked about this before. I'm really not that happy with where I am at the moment, but we're moving house hopefully soon, and I'm going to be all in on improving things, so I'm very excited about that. So
that's my next year is improving. That's all it is. I got the other part down, like you just said. I got the camera, the mic, the Rodecaster Pro. I'm set there. So everything else is all about set dressing now. I literally just painted that wall on bank holiday, which was Monday. It was white last week, remember? So
tell us more about, like, what you said you're using the Canon 6400. What was it called? And
Sony A6400.
Sorry, Sony. Yeah. Tell us more.
Swearing at me. No, I'm just a diehard Sony guy. My family, our store, when we had our electronic store, Sony was our number one brand. So it's just my personal preference. Most cameras nowadays are relatively good. I just like it because I do show products a lot, and the focus is just super quick, right? It is really, really instant focus whenever I need to show someone a product. If I hold that sucker, sorry, people listening, but if I hold that sucker into my face, what you just saw is instant focus. So that's the reason why I use this. And it goes into a Camlink 4K, which goes into this computer is going into an OWC Thunderbolt 3 dock. And that way I can run 4 Camlinks out of it because it has enough power to do so. So that's my primary thing. And then I'll take that single Thunderbolt cable and take it out of iMac and plug it right into the Mini and stream from the Mini. So I can kind of go back and forth, just some testing things out for the company.
That's cool. So you got 2 computers there, and
technically 3.
Okay, now you're showing off. Unlike your microphone, I think you said you're using a Rodecaster Pro, but tell us about your mic.
It's a SM7B. Again, super funny. I was of the camp of, man, I'm not going to get that because, everybody has one, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to try to be different and so forth, so on, et cetera. It's overrated, da-da-da. I went through all of the same machinations, and then I got one and go, nope, not overrated. Now I understand why pretty much any radio station you go to in the planet, you will see one of 3 things: Electro Voice RE20s, Shure SM7Bs, or the Heil PR40, which I believe IAG is speaking into right now. This, what you'll see in the radio station, because they work. Bulletproof. This mic has been in existence since 1966. This is the 4th iteration since then. So number 1, it's 55 years old. Number 2, they've only changed it 4 times in 55 years. And they're like, oh, do you think the SM7B is any good? I don't know, player. Look back for the last half a decade. I mean, half a century. So yeah, it's definitely worth every cent, and it sounds amazeballs.
It does. And you got that plugged into the Rodecaster?
Yes, sir.
Awesome.
And I didn't need a cloud lifter because I'm loud, but if you're a quiet speaker, you might need a cloud lifter. But I am loud by nature, so I don't need a cloud lifter.
Well, you sound awesome. I mean, I think everyone watching, listening will agree with that. It picks up. There's a lot of depth. There's resonance. There's all that kind of stuff. It's great. And just before we finish, I know I could get you probably on a big rant now. So maybe try and calm down with this question. But like we've both got our microphones on shot here. Like, and I know like other people out there prefer to have it out of shot. So what's your view on this? Why do you have it in shot? It doesn't that, well, yeah, I'm going to let you get on with it.
Okay, so I don't know why you set me up. Ian, I love you, brother. I love you. You set me up hardcore. Okay, first of all, physics, period, point blank in the story. There's a frustrum. It's the space between your face and the capsule, and all mics have a frustrum, like a sweet spot, if you will. Then there's your pattern pickup, right? Microphones aren't designed to listen for something all the way across the room without a big, parabolic dish, right? Also, a lot of people that are trying to get it out of the shot, they'll immediately go shotgun. Shotguns are designed to listen to the Tweeties outside while you're talking. So when you're watching a movie and the couples having their love scene, you can hear in the background the ocean, running against the cliffs in Dorchester, or you can hear like that's what they're for. So in your room, why can't I hear my fans? Because your mic is designed to listen to ambient noise, ding dong. Like, yes, it can hear your voice because it's projecting, but that interference tube, aka that long stick with the holes in the side, you know what the holes in the side are for? To listen to the ambient noise. So unless you're going to put yourself in a padded room in an anechoic chamber, look it up, you probably don't want to do that, which is why us guys, radio presenters call us, right? We always have our face within 4 to 6 inches because there's vocal presence. There's a thing. If I'm talking to you from here, you can hear me because I'm a loud guy. But if I come in here, I sound just much better. Just pure physics. Air moves, sound waves, this and that. The last part of this is if you have to, absolutely have to, be one of those people who don't want to have it in the shot, get yourself a lavalier. I like to be bougie and call it lavalier, and clip it to your shirt, just like every presenter on Sky, on ITV, on BT, like whatever you're watching, all of those presenters have a lavalier. If you watch a play in the theater, it's in the wig. The little microphone is sewn into the wig because that works. And it has worked since the mid-'60s when you've been watching TV. So why do you keep trying to make up your own stuff because somebody told you that if the mic is in the shot, it's distracting? If it's distracting, you got nothing to say.
Yeah. Okay. That'll do. I agree with you. I love that. It's just like, it's kind of like me on ring lights. I'm not a fan of ring lights.
Me neither.
But that's a whole other topic.
That's a whole podcast right there, bro.
I know. Well, we'll have to. You have to come back on the show, and we can talk all about that. But we are at the end of the show. I thank you so much for helping us navigate this really complicated world and helping us. You've blown our minds with all these acronyms and difficult things, but you've really simplified it as well, which is being great. I love this one from a Mr. Camry Junkie. Ian has just started something. And Joe says, tell him, Doc. Yes, we like to tell him on this show. Well, thank you. How can people find out more about you? I know you're doing lots of different things. You're doing lots of stuff at ECAMM, but you've got your fingers in many other pies as well. Where's the best place for people to find you and stalk you in a nice way, of course?
Like Tim. I am all over the internet at DOCROCK. And then if you're really curious about the streaming thing and you wonder why even a PC guy would decide to use ECAMM, I do live demo of ECAMM every Friday on the ECAMM live channel on YouTube. So by all means, come by, bring your questions. Even if you just have a question about streaming in general that might not even be us specific, stalk me on my regular channel, Doc Rock on YouTube, and I'll answer you because I'm not one of those oh, you have to do it this way or that way. I will tell you both. I'll tell you why you're wrong, but I'll still give you your answer.
Yeah, no, and that's one of the many reasons I love about you. You're very gracious with your time and your help, and you're not afraid to give your own opinion, but you'll help everybody and to get to that point, which is awesome. Well, thank you, Doc. It's been great to have you on the show. Just to say, this is the end of the show today. I've also forgot to mention at the end of June. So this podcast episode will actually be after this. But if you're watching live or watching the replay, the next Launch Your Live is coming out at the end of June. If you go to iag.me/LYL, you can sign up for the waiting list. This will help you launch your live show with confidence in just 10 days. So definitely check that out. But we are out of time. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for listening. And until next time, I encourage you to level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power, if I can say the words, of Confident Live Video. See you soon. Bye.
Thanks for watching the Confident Live Marketing Show with Ian Anderson Gray.
Make sure you subscribe at iag.me/podcast so you can continue to level up your impact, authority, and profits through the power of live video.
And until next time,
Toodaloo.